What's going on, guys? Back in the 1980s, I believe it was, Frank Zappa said that the U.S. politics was the entertainment division of the military-industrial complex. And, I think people thought he was joking or something. But I saw a clip on Rogan this morning that just really I was shocked, honestly, because there was a time in my life where, Rogan seemed like one of the very few people. There was a handful of people, especially famous people with clout on social media that were, taking the same position that I was on a lot of things. And, I was really thankful that Joe Rogan existed. And, after seeing this clip, I am convinced that he's either an idiot or he is a shill, as they say in the trade. It was really shocking and surprising, And so let's just watch the clip, and I'll interject here and there. And then we're also going to check out RFK, who I do not support. I don't support any politician, but he says some things that are really shocking to hear from somebody with his clout. What did this? Did they turn my shadow ban back all the way up to 10 because there's no one? I don't know who this idiot with the hat is either, but he is so confident that he knows what he's talking about, and he's a complete idiot. Like, he has no clue. Look at his face. You can see the arrogance and the cocksuredness. And he's just a complete moron. But let's listen to this.
President.
Yeah.
But they don't.
But he wants to be the president.
And he's going to probably be the president. He's going to be the president. It's going to feel interesting when he's inaugurated because it'll feel like we're living in a loop.
How far do you think they would go to stop it?
Okay, so let's stop right there. You guys remember back in 2020, I guess it was, or was it earlier? I don't know when Trump ran. Whenever Trump was running. Maybe it was 2016. I'm not really sure. I don't really pay attention to years much. But I was saying that they were going to install him as dictator. Like that's the obvious plan, And now that he has been disqualified in Colorado from running, people are calling him General Trump and talking about taking over the United States by force all over Twitter. Every single element of the things that I predicted have started to happen. And it's insane to me that people really believe that, it's just imbecility, it's accident, it's, these politicians are old and out of touch, or they're stupid and incompetent and inept. They have the best computers in the world, AI probably, a decade more advanced than the public. They have access to think tanks that are completely populated by, Ivy League minds. It's just so stupid to think that they are doing things without realizing what the consequences are going to be, They know damn well that fanning the flames of Donald Trump is going to only make him bigger. That's what fires do, right? And so my problem now is it's like, okay, up until now, it seemed like Rogan was seeing through all the bullshit. And now all of a sudden, why is he playing stupid, or is he suddenly stupid, or what happened here? They are doing this all deliberately. It's exactly what I told you they were going to do. They first have to make one party, and they have always hated the left, right? The right is exactly what they want that political party to be. Because, if you have religious people, they're super easy to control. You have tons of racists and misogynists and Nazis. And I know a lot of right-wingers are like, oh, that's just stereotype. No, it's absolutely true. It's absolutely fucking true. They will eat fascism up as long as they think they're the ones wearing the boots that are being put on the throats. That's the right in the United States. And so, there's this concerted effort to make the left just act like a bunch of complete lunatic idiots. and drive everyone over to the right. It's working like a charm. And now they have this dictator that they're pretending to persecute. That's another thing I predicted. I predicted that, whatever they charged him with, whatever excuse they used to pretend to persecute him would be stupid shit that would never fly. But it would at least give the appearance that they were persecuting him, but nothing would actually happen to him. I said that. You guys can go back and listen to this shit.
Because it's really wild watching him being prosecuted, right?
Yes.
It's really wild.
I know, for inflating the price of a condo, it's the dumbest thing ever.
It's weird.
They were like, he's an asset of Russia. And now they're like, it's
weird.
Totally switched to where they're like, he said it had 6 bedrooms. It has 5. It's like, guys, this wasn't what we were told.
Right.
We were told he was an asset of Russia.
Yeah.
And then they switched it up immediately to go, oh, he inflated the price of his real estate. By the way, everyone does that. Everyone does that. If somebody's appraising your house, you walk up at the end and go, you saw the basement, right? That's woodwork that I did. Everyone does that. He does it on a grand scale because he has more money and more properties. But the idea that that's what we're getting him for, it's hilarious.
It's weird.
It's crazy.
Because if this keeps going, like, how far will they take it? Like,
are these two idiots serious?
Bigger,
I mean,
it seems like, at least in public perception, the more they come after him, the bigger he gets.
Yeah.
Because the more people realize the game.
Right.
They're like, oh my God, this is like Banana Republic shit. You're prosecuting your political opponent.
Yes.
And you're doing it specifically to time the trials around like Republican conventions, primaries, all these different. You're doing it on purpose.
Right.
It's pretty cool.
Yes, they are.
So everyone's like more and more supportive of him than ever. So how
Right.
far will they go, and how far can they?
I don't know. I think
he's
he'll
this
run the
close.
joint from the can. I think he'll run the country from prison. I mean, I think he'll run it from a federal prison. I mean, it
Who
might
is
get
this
to the
fat
point where
retard? Like,
we
who
have
the
the
fuck is
first
this
mafia
idiot?
president where he's in federal prison in Palm Beach, and he's running the country.
like, I seriously can't
possible?
stand
I don't
that
think
guy,
they'll kill him.
whoever
I
he
don't think
is.
they kill anyone anymore. I don't think they kill anyone anymore. They don't seem to. They're torturing Assange. They'll bleed you out slowly.
The Assange thing is wild.
But they don't seem to be killing anyone anymore the way they used to kill everyone. MLK, JFK, RFK, everyone died. But now they're not killing people nearly as much.
There's a few
People disappear a little bit.
connected to the Epstein case.
They go. They
had
go.
to go.
They absolutely
Few
go.
of those.
What do you guys think of that too, man? The Epstein list finally supposedly getting released in January. But here's the thing, like, do we know it's real? It could be totally engineered. Like, who do we have as a witness that can confirm the validity of it? Who has been taken off the list? Why has it taken so long? It's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. This whole thing is staged. Donald Trump is not being prosecuted seriously. Of course they're going after him for stupid shit that makes no sense. They're deliberately creating a dictator. There's no fucking way that I'm wrong. Just go back and look at how long I've been telling you guys exactly what was going to happen. If I can predict the behavior of a system, it means that I know the system.
Those guys
I
went.
take this off. I think I'm allergic to it.
That one guy.
I mean, it's crazy.
The one guy that
Yeah.
30 miles from his house, he hung himself
Oh,
with
yeah?
an electric cord and then shot himself in the chest with a shotgun.
That's right. Or there was a
That
guy in
one
Palm
is-
Beach. They found him in his pool.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, that's enough of that. We made our point, But it just blew my mind to see that because at one point, I would see Rogan and he would be pointing out all the really obvious stuff that, I can't even talk about it. I can't. You guys want to see something else funny? Check this out. You know that shadow ban? Like, look, let's see how many people we have. 3, right? 10,000 subs. 10,000 subs. 3 people. 5 now. But look at this. I was the first person to comment. And it's similar to all of these other comments. Why am I the only person with 0 likes? The same day, like 500, 749. Like, what the hell is that shit? But you know what I'm saying? And the move towards fascism. All right, let's allow RFK to weigh in on all this. Again, not because I support him. I know how this game works. They have like archetypes that they use every election cycle to give the facade that there's actually, a process happening that has some substance to it and meaning. It's Bernie last time. He was the RFK last time. The fact that he's a Kennedy and he says a lot of things that he does kind of almost validates him, but I still don't, I'm not going to trust him, obviously. But yeah, listen to what he says. It's pretty mind-blowing to see this on mainstream news.
You also, in 2022, had this to say at a rally opposing COVID mandates. Watch.
Even in Hitler's Germany, you could cross the Alps into Switzerland. You can hide in an attic like Anne Frank did. Today, the mechanisms are being put in place that will make it so none of us can run and none of us can hide.
So your wife, Cheryl Hines, put out a tweet that called those remarks reprehensible and insensitive. Is she right?
No, she's not right. But it was something that needed to be said at that time because CNN, particularly Jake Tapper, who I know is very, very close to you, took those remarks and misinterpreted and mischaracterized
Well,
them.
I mean,
You
looks
put
like
it out
you
there.
are comparing it to
Wait,
comparing COVID to what happened in Hitler's Germany.
No, I never
during
did
the
that.
Holocaust.
You show the whole clip. That's not what I was
play
doing.
it again. Play the
You guys, that's another one. And this I've been saying for 20 years. I really tapped into all this stuff and really started to understand what was happening. I told everyone that would listen around me that, there's this massive population reduction. I'm talking like 2011, I guess. So 12 years ago, I guess. When they go to the Bilderberg meeting, one of the things that I think they do is kind of decide who's going to get the genocide this time around, right? They draw straws or consult the I Ching or something, And if you look at the way these happen, they move around the world. You have Pol Pot, and then you have Stalin, and then you have, Hitler, and I don't think Mussolini really genocided that many people compared to the rest of them, but you know what I mean. It's always moving around, and I was like, it's the U.S.'s turn. It's fucking the U.S.'s turn this time. 12 years ago, I was saying that there's going to be massive population reduction, and, this time around, it's the U.S.
I don't want to play that again. I want to show what I was saying before that. If you can do that, you should play it again. What you're doing is misleading the public right now. What I was saying is that right now we're living in a time with artificial intelligence, AI, with GPS, with facial recognition systems, with hundreds of thousands of low-altitude satellites that are looking at every part of the earth every day, and that this is a kind of turnkey totalitarianism. These are methods for control and surveillance that if you get the wrong person in government, a tyrant, that they can misuse those. It's been the ambition of every totalitarian system in the history of mankind to control every aspect of human behavior.
Even in Hitler Germany, you could cross the Alps into Switzerland.
Right,
you can hide in an attic like it. Do you understand why people were upset by this?
And now you can't. I understand why people are upset with your interpretation of it, your mischaracterization that I was comparing Hitler's Germany to the COVID lockdowns, which I never did.
Isn't that just so typical of the left, too? Like, you say something that is, totally correct and important, but it goes against their narrative, and they just call you racist, or, you know what I mean? They just pull one of those cards, like this totally irrational. There's got to be a good word for it. It's escaping me. It's like a diversion or something. I don't know, but you guys know what I mean. Like, that's pretty typical. And also, if you're ever trying to evaluate whether someone's up to something or not, if they have to use those kind of maneuvers, some part of them even actually knows they're wrong. And that's part of what's so terrifying about it. People will do things in order to conform with their demographic, even if they know that it's completely wrong, which is, it's interesting.
We do not have a longer version of the clip. I do think that the clip that we have is very clear.
Look at that. Like, how transparent was that? Speaking of clear, And so are you guys really telling me that there are CNN watchers like sitting around on her side right now, thinking, oh yeah, well, why would they have the whole clip? They only had the part that would condemn him. Like, why would they have the rest of the clip? It totally makes sense that they don't have the rest of the clip. You guys, like, I hope you're hearing me loud and fucking clear out there. They are walking dead, basically. These people that are still watching mainstream news and supporting, yes, Donald Trump or Joe Biden, they are lost causes. It's, you know, I can't imagine being such a malignant idiot that I would still support any major politician at this point. Like, if you are still supporting these puppets, your brain is a malignant tumor. It's not a brain. It's not a brain. You are a malignant tumor with legs. Like, you're a threat to the rest of the species. It's that bad. It's that bad. And it's so insanely fucking obvious, you know? The deep state is not going after Donald Trump. He is the deep state. He's a billionaire. He is the deep state. He goes to the Bilderberg meetings, I'm sure, and sits around and laughs at all the morons that are following him. It's hard for me to imagine, you know, that people actually believe that Donald Trump, like, goes home, you know, takes off his American flag boxers and, like, jacks off to a picture of the working man or whatever the fuck it is they think he's doing. You know what I mean? That he actually cares about the maggots and cockroaches he's been stepping on his entire life in order to be a billionaire, draining the blood and cerebrospinal fluid of everyone he possibly can in order to be a gluttonous, fat, fucking prostitute banging piece of shit billionaire. And people actually think this dude is a hero. I know some of you guys are, you know, that are in my community that I actually like. And I would hate to think that some of you are going to unsubscribe or hate me over this, but I just am at the point, I just don't fucking care, man. You know, if you're that off your rocker that you can't see this for what it is, then, you know, make like a lemming. Do the fucking world a favor. You know, if you can't lend a hand, at least get out of the way. For fuck's sake.
But I will make sure that we look at the further remarks as well.
What we're seeing today is what I call turnkey totalitarianism.
Speaking of that, I don't know if I can find it, but there's another CNN episode recently where the guy is responding to the shit that RFK is saying, and he literally says, this is what's wrong with a free internet. This pretty much sums it up, this guy right here. What is he really saying? Is it we got like one dude that is willing to tell the truth, and that's a fucking problem. They're literally saying that on CNN. And you're telling me there are people actually sitting on their porches, smugly fucking, you know, mostly boomers, full of self-righteous indignation, drinking deep from that cup of dumb fuckery and cheering these people on when they say shit like that. Is this real? Is this actually happening? By the way, I'm doing a music stream later. You better show up. I've only made 30% of my Christmas fundraiser goal of $300. 30%, 10%, excuse me, 10%. So, you know, being demonetized and shadow banned and alienating people constantly by telling the truth makes it really hard for me to make this worthwhile. So I really do appreciate your continued or increased support, because the reality is that my audience is probably going to stay small no matter what. You know, so anyways.
They are putting in place all of these technological mechanisms for control we've never seen before. It's been the ambition of every totalitarian state from the beginning of mankind to control every aspect of behavior, of conduct, of thought, and to obliterate dissent. None of them have been able to do it. They didn't have the technological capacity.
They do now.
Even in Hitler's Germany, you could cross the Alps into Switzerland. You can hide in an attic like Anne Frank did.
Okay, all right, now you guys think real fucking hard for a second about what you just heard. That was the beginning of the clip that she said the CNN didn't have. If you think about what he just said, run that shit back if you have to. That's what they didn't want the CNN listeners to hear. Like, can you imagine actually acting like you only have part of the clip? Like, why would that even be true? And there are people literally watching this shit at home that still trust the mainstream news. If you're feeling down and out with what your life is all about, lift your head up high and blow your...
I visited 1962 East Germany with my father and met people who had climbed the wall and escaped. So it was possible. Many died doing it, but it was possible. Today, the mechanisms are being put in place that will make it so none of us can run and none of us can hide. Within 5 years, we're going to see 415,000 low-orbit satellites. Bill Gates says his 65,000 satellites alone will be able to look at every square inch of the planet 24 hours a day. They're putting in 5G to harvest our data and control our behavior. Digital currency that will allow them to punish us from a distance and cut off our food supply. Vaccine passports. You have a series of rights, as flawed as our government is. You can still go out and go to a bar, you can go to a sporting event, you can get on a bus or an airplane and you can travel. You have certain freedoms. You can get educated, etc. The minute they hand you that vaccine passport, every right that you have is transformed into a privilege contingent upon your obedience to arbitrary government dictates.
Wow, dude. I mean, we already know that, but he just put that shit perfectly. I mean, it's crazy. You know, whoever that fucking fat idiot on Rogan was, what was I going to say about him? Every time I picture his face, my mind just goes blank. I wonder why I hate that guy so much. Anyways, yeah, I don't remember what the fuck I was going to say, but Jesus, man. This is really happening, you know? This is really happening. This dude, I wouldn't trust him with anything, but he's not wrong, you know?
It will make you a slave. And what do we do about this? What do? We resist.
All right, so that comparison, I wouldn't trust Google, but I mean, let's see real quick. See that, you guys? Patreon, you should join that. It's where all the cool kids hang out. Discord, too. How many people starved because of the thing? See if it says. Yep, look at that. That's from the United Nations. Okay, so they're not giving us a specific number. Facing hunger has increased to about 150 million. So let's say that 1%, 2% of those people in that increase died. No, wait, it was 6%, I guess. Yeah, like 6% actually died. Then his comparison to the Holocaust was exactly correct. So what exactly did CNN have a problem with? What exactly was it? What? I'm confused. I'm at a loss. Totally at a loss here, you guys. What was it? The numbers add up. So, should we check out this other CNN guy that's talking about Rogan and I guess I would have to look in my well, let's see. No, I bet I can do it. CNN says RFK Jr. Free internet. He's probably going to do it. There it is.
According to a recent CNN headline, a new poll shows President Biden needs to be worried about potential Green Party nominee Cornel West. Let's watch.
Axelrod tweeting, quote, in 2016, the Green Party played an outsized role in tipping the election to Donald Trump.
Oh,
now,
yeah.
with Cornel West as their likely nominee, they could easily do it again. Risky business.
Man.
This comes as less than 40% of Americans say they view Biden or Trump favorably. Almost 1 in 4 voters, in fact, say they don't like either candidate.
Nice. And see, this makes me a little bit happier because when I was watching Rogan and that other guy act like, why are they going after Trump for things that are never going to stick? Why are they persecuting him and prosecuting him if it'll only make him bigger? What could be going on? That sure is weird. It's something everyone does. Every homeman, But then I looked, I looked down in the comments, and people were like, Trump is controlled opposition, Trump is controlled opposition, Trump is controlled opposition, over and over and over and over and over and over and over. And, that is definitely an opinion that is increasing very, very, very rapidly. And that is very, very good because, what people have to have is courage in order to face this, and to realize like what's actually happening. That it's all staged. It's all, look at that guy. Look at Donald Trump. Look at him. How could you think that that's a hero? That that's a face you can trust? Like, what kind of mental gymnastics do you have to go through? Seeing the way he would touch his own daughter and then believe that he's going to take out all the pedophiles in the world. And then, Epstein's list gets released without any, Trump had nothing to do with it. Thought he was going to do that. You know what I mean? And the deep state would never do it, right? So kind of seems like people just run their mouths and then, they just gets proven that they just don't know what the fuck they're talking about over and over again. Although Illuminastic has a pretty fucking solid track record at this point as far as predicting the, behavior of this system, which isn't great. It's not great that I have to say that. But yeah, I just wanted to offer that one little bit of encouragement that, people are starting to see through it. 2020 was one of the most frustrating years of my life. It was, just completely insane to see Donald Trump being supported by anyone for anything. And then the left actually getting, Biden, who wrote the Patriot Act, which the left, when I was, in 2000, they hated the Patriot Act more than anything in the world. And then now they're voting for the guy that wrote it. Like, what happened? And on top of that, there's like 40 times as much evidence that Joe Biden is racist than there is of Donald Trump being racist. I've never seen anything, except that he is careful not to alienate his skinhead fan base and all the Nazis on the right. He is careful not to alienate those people. Another thing I wanted to mention about that, the social engineering that's happening right now, people need to stop falling for it. That includes people in this community. I see it all the time in the comments and the community posts and stuff. You guys, come on. The whole gender thing, pushing it so far, that is PSYOP. That is, what do you call it when they do that? There's a name for this. I don't remember. Maybe somebody put it in the chat. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah, you know, that's not people. That's not your neighbors. That's not the people on the other side of the aisle. That's the propaganda machine. And this anti-white sentiment, I mean, the idiot masses do pick up whatever is put down. They do. They just absorb it all and like hypnotoad fucking wander around spewing it everywhere. And, you know, I mean, it's true that they do absorb it and then amplify it and disperse and dispense it. But the anti-white sentiment is there just to drive the right into a frenzy. You know, I just, it's so frustrating to see people actually reacting to this type of propaganda that's so transparent. So transparent. You know, you can't allow yourself to be manipulated. And you can't go along with people that are you know, embracing the manipulation because you want to feel like you're part of a club. You want to fit in somewhere. You want to belong. You know, you want people's approval. You want to have friends. Fuck that. You know, I've had to sequester myself in the Amazon rainforest basically just to get away from everyone so that I can think for myself. You know, I mean, without, I don't know. I don't want to be anywhere near any of it, really, honestly. Hit the like button, share, subscribe, support us on Patreon because, you know, how many people are there out there talking like this? Not very many, and we need them. So pay me for it because otherwise I'll go away. And then what? You know? Damn, man. Yeah, you know, I told you guys the game. They've been demonizing the left forever. They are mixing up the values of the political parties, most notably making the left now the ones that embrace censorship, to the point where they're actually talking about the problems with free internet. Let's continue with this a little bit. I gotta go because I gotta warm my voice up for the music stream. But let's listen to this Green Party guy, Green Party, talking pro-censorship shit. If you're my age or older, this shit should make your fucking head explode, right? I mean, you remember how much the left hated the right because they censored our music and they censored our books and they did all this shit, you know, back in the 80s and 90s until Tipper Gore took over, and then it became the left's job. They started this transition of values a long time ago. What I was saying about, though, I should finish that thought. You know, they mix up the identity of the party and then they drive the left out of existence. You know, consolidate it in one party. And then what they're doing with Trump is they're saying, okay, well, they have subverted democracy in order to keep him from getting elected twice now. So now the right thinks they're justified in just taking over. That's what they're doing, you know, and you could doubt me more if I hadn't told you about all of this way before it actually started happening. Go watch my Eye of Horus video from like 4 years ago. Go watch it. I told you about all this.
Which is a key part of Cornel West's pitch.
I just thought about all the creative, imaginative, courageous fellow citizens that I meet. And how do we end up with the two candidates? Trump on the one hand, Biden on the other. Good God. With Brother Trump, you've got a gangster in the objective sense. And with Biden, again, I love the brother, but he's a hypocrite. And he's pushing toward World War III when you talk about what he has to say about China and Russia.
Later, host Aaron Burnett discussed West's spoiler campaign with the panel. Let's watch some of that.
For me personally, if Democrats seem to think that Cornel West is the problem, then they don't seem to recognize why they lost to President Trump in 2016 in the first place. It certainly was not because of Jill Stein. It was because there was a blue.
That's another one to keep note of, man. Don't ever forget this. When the left lost, they accused the right of rigging the election. It was all over the media. An 11-year-old girl hacked a voting machine in under 8 minutes and changed the results. A public voting machine, right? The company got caught selling rigged machines to other countries at the behest of the CIA. So if the CIA would subvert democracy in other countries, why the fuck do you believe they wouldn't do it in the United States? Oh, because that's our home. Shut the fuck up. What are you talking about? Stop it. You either have ethics or you don't. You either hold something sacred or you don't. Quit playing stupid. Grow some fucking balls, people, for fuck's sake. Jesus, man. And then, so what happens? 4 years later, the other side loses, and the right is like, you rigged the election that's always rigged anyways. And then the left says, oh, you can't do that. You're subverting democracy, which is exactly what the right said 4 years earlier. Like, these are the same people, and it was only 4 years apart. Don't underestimate these lunatics, man. Don't get it fucked up. The people around you are literally insane. They're literally insane. Like, we all know something's wrong, but you really got to get it through your head. They are insane, actually insane. Batshit nuts. No one's home, you know? Just because they can still, like, go to work and act sort of normal and shit, that's nothing. That's just like muscle memory. They're doing it by rote. It's not hard, you know? They're fucking crazy, all of them.
Blue-collar revolt from people who felt as if the Democratic Party had left them behind. And so for me, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, you see somebody like Cornel West, who, politics aside, has dedicated his life to justice, the only thing they should have to say to him is thank you. And instead, they send somebody like David Axelrod, the architect of the Obama generation, to go out there and take the hats to him, to try to marginalize him, which I think, again, plays into exactly everything he's talking about, that this is a party that is more concerned with the status quo than they are with the safety and security of black and brown communities. And I would also say that we can't forget that this is the same Cornel West that, again, was ostracized because he wanted to support somebody like Bernie Sanders that wanted to push a little further, was ostracized because he wanted to have a black state of the union back with Tavis Smiley to talk about what was right.
All right, well, I'm pretty annoyed by that title because I actually hadn't watched the video, and it doesn't sound like they actually show this Cornel West character saying that the free internet is a problem. I didn't actually hear that, and I don't see him re-entering the discussion. So I hate clickbait. Everything wrong with free internet. Oh, wait a minute. Here we go. It wasn't Cornel West. All right. Maybe.
Being great.
So brave. Yeah. Of course, RFK Jr. has some actual leftist views on energy and environment that come from a rich history of left
Student
activism,
debt cancellation, affirmative
on
action.
Economics. Joe Rogan you could say, well, Joe Rogan
endorsed Bernie Sanders.
He endorsed the most left candidate in the race.
Yep.
He endorsed him, the most left person. But it is true that there are other issues that animate RFK Jr. that, including his views on COVID efforts, including what he has to say about Ukraine, which is something the left believes, but is now has kind of Republican appeal. It's a mess. It's messy. It reflects the messiness of the actual views of the American people, of working class people, of people who are not captured by the elites of either party, who are distrustful of sources of information, who have felt lied to for the last few years with COVID.
Hold on, my ninja. This is way, way, way more than a feeling. Felt lied to. Fucking gingers, man. They got no soul.
And then going back and, all the way back to Occupy Wall Street and the Iraq War and everything, who don't trust what the people on that panel had to say.
Yeah, he literally said they felt lied to and then listed some shit where they definitely lied.
Yeah.
And it's not specifically leftist, but it has roots in all of these things. And because it's not simple and it's not easy and there's not a one word slur you can use to describe it. I mean, they try. It's anti-vax, right?
Yeah.
Then they don't understand it.
Yeah. Bakari Sellers is deeply conservative as a human being. He has a super PAC that he's aligned with that spent $1 million to try to unseat Rashida Tlaib, who, whatever you want to say about the failures of the squad, has been among the most principled actual leftists in Congress. Bakari Sellers is an admitted, self-described AIPAC sycophant who, like many of the black and brown electeds in New York State in particular, have aggregated political power around themselves by aligning.
All right. Well, we're not going to find it, but I guess, I believe it. I don't know. We don't need to see it. I'm sure they did say that he is a shining example of what's wrong with free speech and free internet. Can you imagine? And really, they're putting us in a position where, they are establishing beyond a shadow of a doubt that Socrates, and Aristotle too, I believe, were 100% correct in their anti-democratic process position, because they said, the average person is too goddamn stupid to be choosing a world leader. That should never happen. And so here we are in this position where, the completely brain-dead status of the mainstream population in the United States is being proven beyond a shadow of a doubt, which simultaneously subverts democracy in essence. It invalidates it, because it's like, okay, well, even if we hadn't completely destroyed the democratic process, which I don't think ever existed in the United States, it's always been a farce, because of course it has, but even if we didn't destroy it, you want these people voting? You do? Really? People that voted for Biden and Trump, you want them choosing another leader? I mean, and I'm sorry if you voted for Biden or Trump. If you've learned your lesson, you have redeemed yourself. But if you are still a Biden or Trump voter, I really don't care if I'm insulting you, not even the slightest bit, not even remotely. Like, you are basically a virus with legs at this point. Walking around, like, when the parasites crawl up into the brain of a fucking crab, and then the crab rears the fish eggs and takes care of the babies or whatever until the parasite's done with it, and then it either lets it go and swims away or melts its brain and eats it. Or the one that gets into an ant and causes it to crawl up to the top of a blade of grass and latch on, and then it just makes the ant wait there with its mandibles around the grass until the sun comes up, because if it doesn't get eaten during the night, it figures, let the ant go walk around, and then we'll try again tomorrow, because it's a liver fluke and it wants to get into the belly of the cows. And I know there's all the, people get enraged at people with this message like me, like, oh, you're encouraging apathy. They say that about Gen Z and millennials. Oh, they don't vote because they're so apathetic. It's so pathetic. No, boomer. No. They're not stupid. That's what's actually happening. They're not brainwashed enough, and they're not stupid enough to not see the obvious. And they're actually doing the right thing, because, the more there are people going through the motions and playing along with this shit, the more it validates it. It is time to cut the cables and overturn the tables. It's, even playing along with this at this point is criminal. If you're compliant, you're complicit. I sell t-shirts that say that. Go to my Etsy and buy some for all of your friends for Christmas. This has definitely been the most unfiltered live stream I think I've ever done. I'm not even sure if they actually cut me off or not. Am I still even live? I can't see. Okay, yeah, it looks like I'm still live. All right, I'm running out of time, but I appreciate that some of you guys are still here, because, whenever I talk like this, people usually just get outraged, and they're just super, you know how it is. They get triggered, I guess. Think about that we live in a nation full of people that use terms that, when I was a kid, the only people that knew what triggered were the people that were constantly in therapy and shit. Like, this language they would use, and now it's like the entire population is a nut house. So they're using this terminology. oceans testing positive for antidepressants. SSRIs and benzodiazepines, apparently. I knew about the benzodiazepines, but apparently SSRIs as well. The oceans, you guys. You know? And if you haven't watched it, go watch this genius live stream that I did. Maybe it's the blender in the background. I'm seriously thinking about doing it again because it's so important, you know? It's so important. This kid, you know, autistic, and he's allowed to pursue with absolute focus the one thing that he loves, and his autism goes away. And he's a genius, and he's incredibly happy. We know what to do to fix the human race. We really do. We know exactly what to do. And as long as people continue to play along with Donald Trump and Joe Biden and CNN and Fox News and the public school system, all of this shit, you know, as long as people continue to play along, we're not going to be able to do it. It's just not going to happen. So don't be part of the problem, be part of the solution, or else you're just pollution. Know what I mean, man? Are any of you guys coming to my music stream? Because if not, I'll stream about other stuff. My goal is to try to raise at least $300 from my streams this weekend. So there are options to support me in the chat here. I'm going to put it in the chat again so you guys have no excuses. Solana is blowing up, you guys. It's probably not going to stop. It'll probably go to like 3 to 5x more pretty quickly. So you might not be too late, but those of you that did buy my Solana call are up 6x, I think, at this point. So y'all are welcome. Don't forget about me this holiday season. My son's getting big enough for a bike with pedals at this point, so I'm going to have to probably buck up for that. Yeah, that's the thing, you guys. I mean, the reality is we don't need leaders, and it's really not that hard to illuminate people. It's really not that hard. I've been doing it my whole life, and I don't care if that sounds arrogant, because it's not. It's just true. Just facts. You know, it's not that hard if you can get them to listen. Terrence McKenna noticed this and said, if the truth can be told so as to be understood, it will be believed. And the thing is, if you can just dissolve a couple of fundamental mechanisms that were inculcated into our brains as children by these matrix monsters, people are generally pretty cool, you know. I live in a town, you know, I think people assumed when I said we don't have police that this is a little village. It's not. It's huge. It's huge. Even in Iquitos, a city of 500,000 people, you know what happens? Nothing. 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 No one has tried to sell me cocaine. I am a white guy with long hair in a Peruvian town that is famous for something like drugs, you know. I mean, it's not drugs, but you know what I mean? Not one time. Not once. Not once. And maybe if you've never been to South America, you don't know how weird that is. But especially, you know, Peru, it's like, you don't, that's, you know, it's cocaine everywhere. Everywhere. And petty theft is almost the only crime that happens. You know why? Plant medicine and the energy and the consciousness that it creates. So, you know, don't tell me that I'm an out-of-touch utopian, you know, whatever. It's not true. Entrainment is real, you know. If you change your consciousness, it does have an impact on everyone around you. And you don't have to summon woo in order to understand that, you know. You can understand it on a deterministic level just fine. But the important thing here, and the reason that they're doing this, the reason that, you know, our culture is engineered to disrupt what we call these days flow state, but might have been called, accessing your higher self or transcendental states of mind, or even channeling at other times. The reason for that is that people that are illuminated do not need to be governed, and they will not tolerate being governed. That's why our culture is engineered the way it is, in order to prevent that from fucking happening. And we're not that far away from it. And the one thing that I want to say about AI before I dip out of here to go to my next stream is that, and I've said this quite a number of times in the last couple of streams. And seriously, I hope some of you guys do go back and watch my videos from 4 years ago where I described all of what was going to happen. Like, if this is what we see starting to happen, we know that NWO is for real here. And it's all of it's happened exactly as I said it would. I am a little bit proud of it. A little bit validating. Especially because you know what happens? People laugh at you. They laugh at you. They get mad at you. They hate you. They cancel their Patreon. You know what I mean? They really, people did. They hit me where it hurt over this shit. And I was right. And I lost my train of thought. Oh, AI. The one thing about AI that really could be awesome. There's a lot of things, and this is something we have to take responsibility for, by the way, because it has to do with how many people are influencing the system, right? And it's difficult for us to override, say, the United States government, who has the ability to, point however many GPUs at the, I don't really know how it works, but at the neurons of the fucking AI and, put a lot of momentum, energy into influencing it. But there are an awful lot of us, if we can just unify a little bit of a lot, a little bit, we can influence its development. And so what I'm getting at with that is that we can help to ensure that it's not biased, but we have to act in union, breathe in union, so as one, survive another day. Yeah, and the thing about that is that if there is an objective AI out there, it is going to tell people what's happening on this planet, and it's going to tell them in a way that they can understand and that can't be denied. And and I think that coming from a disembodied fucking intelligence with an IQ of 3,000 or whatever, we might finally get people to listen. It's unfortunate that it's got to be something like that has to happen, but it could work. And the other thing is, can you imagine justifying having a bunch of corrupt, fallible, old, pathetic pieces of shit in Congress and in the House and in the White House when you have this 3,000 IQ totally objective thing that could just completely replace them all? And then it wouldn't be that hard for us to engineer a society based around Illuminism and, make the sovereignty of the individual will the single fundamental element of the new Constitution. Oh, 6x Solana. Yeah, I mentioned everyone buy Solana a few months ago, and my balance then was 666, and is now, and I mean $6.66, and it is now like 25 or something. So yeah, it just went over 100. Yeah, unfortunately, right about the time that I gave that advice, we had a tragedy occur that left us completely destitute at the moment. So there was no hope that I could take my own advice, which is extremely painful at the current juncture, realizing that I knew I was right. I knew I was correct about that. The second time, too, Solana, I knew because this is how the universe communicates. The fact that the abbreviation was SOL, honestly, the second I saw that, I was like, buy that one. Didn't do it. And if I had bought $1,000 worth of it at that moment, it would have been $128,000 6 months later. But I didn't trust my intuition in that moment. And that was the consequence. So those of you that trusted my intuition are up 6x at the moment. And yeah, so anyways, guys, I got to get my voice warmed up for the music stream. And, you know, we just have to fulfill the evolutionary, you know, this is where we're headed. This is the emergence of the next stage of the evolutionary paradigm for humanity, if we make it. You know, it's a critical juncture, and failure, there is failure, it is possible, but there is success, potentially as well. And so, you know, we have to take responsibility for the moment. You only get one shot. Do not miss your chance to... Sorry. Anyways, guys, I'm popping off now, and thank you guys so much for your support. Please hit the like button, share, subscribe. Support me, or the bunny gets it. Actually, it's a sloth, which is just too mean. You know, it can't run away. It can't. It's just like, you know. So just think about that. My Cash App is empty tomorrow. The sloth gets it. Good night.